Welcome to Lunch and Learn Wednesday workshop series. This week, we're going to be talking about self-doubt and how it stresses us out. So last week, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jen Laffin. I am a personal coach for high achieving women. I am a certified professional coach, a master teacher, and a journaling fanatic. For those of you who know me personally, know that journaling is near and dear to my heart. And each week you come, you'll learn an interesting little extra tidbit about me. So journaling fanatic, and I know several of you are also crazy for journaling and notebooking as well. So thank you for being here today. I wanted to share where we're going to be going today, which is we're going to begin talking about what exactly is self-doubt, how does it show up, why self-doubt loves high-achieving women like us, how we can stop the stress, and then at the end, there will be time to ask questions. Now, I wanted to tell you, please check at this time to make sure that your microphone is muted. And you are welcome to keep yourself on or off screen during the webinar. I actually have everybody minimized on my screen, so I can't see you. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I will definitely get to them at the end. All right, let's get started. If you remember last week, we were talking about how to decide on a big result we'd like to create in our life. And then we worked backwards from the result to the actions we need to take, to the feeling or the emotion we want to feel, and then to the thought or belief that we want to think. And if everything works right, if you're thinking the correct thoughts, you will get the result you want. So I'd like for you to take a second and think about, again, that one big result you want to create in your life. And it can be what you thought of last week. It can be something brand new. It can be different, but just get an idea in your head, because I want you to be able to apply what you're learning today to that result, so you have a little context for it. Now I'd like for you to think about your why. Why does achieving this result matter to you? Why this result? Why is it important to you? So just get a sentence in your head, please, about what your why is. And then I want you to think about what's stopping you. Why haven't you reached that goal yet? Okay. Now, before we get started talking about self-doubt, I wanted to do a little review about our human primal brain for those of you who are just with us for the first time this week. And if you are, by the way, you can go back and watch last week's video. I will make sure I get that in the email that I send out to you after today's session. But just to review, our primal brain is the oldest part of our brain that has not evolved and still thinks that we all live in caves. And the primal brain regulates our emotions such as fear, stress, confusion, joy, comfort, discomfort. Any emotion we feel is regulated by this part of our brain that is really super old. Now, the primal brain has 3 goals. This is 3 jobs it has to do. It keeps us safe, it keeps us alive, and it keeps us lazy. Those are its 3 goals. And to accomplish those goals, it regulates our thoughts and emotions. The other thing I want you to remember is that the primal brain loves familiarity and certainty, which is why it starts getting all nervous when you think about leaving your comfort cave. That's why, if you notice, when you are going outside of your comfort zone, you get that really kind of tense, icky feeling. That's because the primal brain is like, this is going to take too much energy. It could kill you, or it could get you kicked out of your social network, your tribe, so to speak. And again, remember that it does all of its work through our thoughts and emotions. So why does this matter to us today? Well, self-doubt and thoughts of self-doubt are delivered through our thoughts and emotions, complements of our primal brain. Okay. And it works like this. The thoughts of self-doubt enter our brain as a belief or a thought that generates a feeling in us. The feeling affects the actions we take or the actions that we don't take. And based on those actions determines the results. So self-doubt is the number one reason that we stay in our comfort cave and we don't show up for ourselves. So think about that. When we have self-defeating thoughts in the form of self-doubt, and I'm going to go over what some of those are here in just a second, but when we have those self-defeating thoughts, we get those like icky feelings that rise up in our body. Those icky feelings keep us stuck because it's really hard to be motivated to do something when you're busy trying to talk yourself out of feeling qualified to do it, or thinking I can't, if I can't do this perfectly, I don't want to do it at all, or I'm afraid of making mistakes. Those kinds of things give us very icky feelings in our body. And when we're feeling icky, we can't move, we can't take positive action. So as a result, because we have a goal in mind of what we'd like to get to, and yet we feel blocked getting there, we experience a lot of stress. So let's talk about what is self-doubt. Self-doubt is a questioning of our own self-competence. It is the thoughts that go on in our head where we really kind of rip ourselves apart and question whether or not we can really do the things that we want to do. We judge our abilities and we doubt in our ability to achieve certain results. So I don't know about you guys, but when I get ready to start a new diet, I hear thoughts in my head that go something like this. Well, you've never been successful with a diet before. What makes you think you're going to be successful now? You know, you're really going to miss sugar. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Thoughts like that are not going to get me the results that I'm looking for, right? So that is how self-doubt is at play. It's important to know self-doubt can show up anywhere in your life: professional, parenthood, personal, relationships. I think for high achieving women, we see it a lot in our personal life, because in our professional life, that's very outward facing, and we thrive on approval from others from doing a good job. And so we make sure that that part is taken care of. But when it comes to showing up for ourselves and the things we want for ourselves, we tend to struggle a little bit more with self-doubt. Now, that's not a universal truth. It's, of course, everybody is a little bit different, but I think for a lot of high achieving women, they really struggle with self-doubt in their personal life. So there are many costumes that self-doubt wears, and I call it a costume because it can come and go and it's not real. And that's the other thing that I want to teach you about self-doubt today. So the many costumes of self-doubt, the first one is one of my favorites. It's imposter syndrome. And if you've never heard of imposter syndrome, basically it is a belief that you are a fraud, that you're not qualified, that you're not expert enough, that other people are going to figure out that you don't really know what you're doing. And it can strike fear in you and shut you down super duper fast. Okay, so that is one of the many costumes of self-doubt. Second costume self-doubt loves to wear is comparison. And it will send you thoughts as, well, I don't know why this is so hard for you. It wasn't so hard for Sue. It's easy for her. Look at how easy she makes it look. What's wrong with you? Or thinking like looking at what other people have and thinking to yourself, well, I don't have the capability to be able to get that for myself. So that's another example of self-doubt. Third example is perfectionism and being a perfectionist. And I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of a perfectionist tendency that runs through me. And I have been working really hard to try to overcome that. But perfectionism, when I'm struggling with that, I have this thought in my head, like, well, people are going to think badly of me if I don't do this well. And that's not really true, because you know what, you guys, here's something that I've learned. People rarely think about you because they're so busy thinking about themselves. They're so busy worrying about how they're being perceived that they don't really have time to be thinking about how they're perceiving you. So that is definitely a fear tactic that the primal brain is giving us to keep us in our comfort cave. The next one, which is very familiar, I'm sure, to a lot of us, procrastination, putting things off, putting your goals and your results that you're looking for last on your list. And usually the way this works is putting those things last on your list means that you have a lot of room at the beginning of your list for small tasks that are pretty like menial compared to the big thing. You think that if I get all of these little things done first, then I'll have all the time in the world for my big thing. I know when I am working on a writing project and I have a deadline, my house is never as clean as a day when I have a deadline, because I'm like, oh, I have a deadline today. I need to wash the kitchen floor and I need to get the dog to the groomer and I need to scrub the showers. And once I do all that, then I will be ready to work on my project. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. Procrastination is just primal brain's way of keeping you in your comfort zone so you don't expend energy doing something that it thinks might cause you risk. And we know that submitting a piece of writing is not a life-threatening activity. I can totally do it. Another costume of self-doubt is overachievement without stretch. And what I mean by this is striving to keep repeating the same things that you know you do well, because there's very little risk involved in it for you. And remember, the primal brain loves familiarity. And so it's like, if you do this job and you do a really good job at it, I want you just to keep doing this job over and over and over and over. And sometimes we see that in our careers where we settle into a job that we have forever because we're good at it and we don't have to think while we're doing it. And it's a pretty safe place for us. Now, what would happen if you turn that thought on its ear? Is there really a danger in you advancing your career if that's something you want to do? You don't have to stay where you're at if the primal brain is just doing it to keep you comfortable. Okay. And excuse making is another really good one. Excuses are ways of sorry, I lost my train of thought. Excuse making is a really great way that the primal brain tries to distract you from your goal. Okay. I can't go for a walk today because it might rain. I can't look at that college catalog and think about going back to school because my kids need me here after school to drive them to soccer practice. Okay, when there are other people who could drive your child, you use that as an excuse to keep you from moving yourself forward. So why self-doubt loves the high achieving woman, which a lot of people are like, what is a high achieving woman? It's all of you. It's you who are sitting here, because if you think about it, women who are not here today, like not our group, but they don't even consider doing something like this. Okay. So why does self-doubt love us? One, because we're really good at getting stuff done for others. Most of the time we excel at doing things for others because our accomplishments become a part of our identity and our worth. And a lot of that, you'll see a lot of that tied up when people equate their career with their identity. So keep that in mind. Accomplishment is great, but you don't want it to be tied up with your identity and your worth. You are worthy just because you exist. It has nothing to do with how well you do at your job. Another reason why self-doubt loves the high achieving woman is that we do tend to be a bit of a perfectionist at times. And I talked about that a little bit earlier. And so perfectionism works great with the primal brain because it is like, well, you can't do this because if it's not perfect, that is petrifying to a perfectionist. If it's not perfect, what are others going to think? What's going to happen? You're going to look like a failure. You can't make a mistake, right? So instead of taking that chance, because that's a threat for us, we choose not to do anything. And finally, self-doubt loves us because of our social conditioning, our family upbringing, our education. Things that I put into this category would be all those beliefs that were given to you that you never chose for yourself. Okay. Where you are like, well, I can't stand out from the crowd because I was always taught that that's not what girls do. Okay. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard the phrase, you're getting too big for your britches. That was one that was that used to be told to myself and my sisters, don't get too big for your britches. You don't want to stand out. Now, my mother never says that anymore. She's very, very proud of the work that I do and my sisters do. But thinking about that kind of like belief system going through a young girl's head on repeat, it just gets itself very ingrained in your brain. And I put education on here because in the past, when a lot of us were in school, what was valued most in education? Good grades. Okay, so the high achieving woman always tended to strive to excel in their education, not realizing that there are many, many different ways that we are smart, not just in the grades that we get. So what are the results of all of this? Stress. We feel an imbalance between how we appear to others and how we feel. Like our life looks really good on the outside, but on the inside, we are a hot mess. The primal brain magnifies that disconnect, and it does anything it can to try to keep you in your comfort cave by sending you thoughts and feelings of discomfort. Okay. And finally, we've never learned that we can question our thoughts. And this was a big takeaway last week as well. We can question our thoughts because when we become a thought watcher and we step back and we start looking at our thoughts, we can really see what's going on in there just by asking the question, is this true or does it just feel true? It's a very important question. Is this true or does it just feel true? So at the beginning, I asked you to remember your why. Why do these things matter to you? And these are super important because when self-doubt starts running amok in your brain and making you doubt yourself, I want you to remember your why. Why does this result matter to you? What does it mean to you to achieve your result? How will you change as a result of getting your result? Okay. And I told you at the beginning, I'm a journaling fanatic. And one of the things that I do every morning is I write my goals in my journal. And then right after my goals, I write my whys every day. What are my whys of building this business? 1, I want to show my daughter what's possible. 2, I want to prove to myself that I can do it. 3, because it's going to be a blast. I'm going to have so much fun building this business. And 4, I would really, really, really like to retire my husband by his 55th birthday. So those whys are the things that keep me going and keep me showing up when self-doubt is trying to keep me stuck. So I ask you this question now. What is stopping you? Where are you experiencing self-doubt getting in the way of you achieving your goals? Okay. And to review from last week, we talked about the result that you want, the actions that you need to take, choosing that feeling, and then what you're going to think to feel this way. And remember, self-doubt is going to hit you in those last 2 steps. What do you want to think? And how do you choose to feel while taking those actions? All right, I'm going to stop my share. All right. So I have prepared for you guys, and I will be sending it out today. So good to see faces. I have a worksheet that will be going on the email that I send you guys, where you can actually work through this process that I just taught you today about choosing a specific result. And I want you to get as specific as you can there, because then you won't leave any like area for your brain to start questioning and leaving you stuck in the indulgence of confusion. Okay. And by the way, confusion is simply not taking charge of your primal brain. It's letting it like create all kinds of drama for you in there without saying like, wait a minute, this is just trying to keep me in my comfort cave. And then I'm going to ask you to think about what is stopping you from creating this result. I've listed all of the self-doubt costumes that I talked about today, and then a little bit of a reflection, and again, thinking about your why. So hopefully doing this activity will help you gain some clarity when self-doubt is trying to stop you from being everything you want to be. So bye, Joanna. All right. We have a few minutes left. I've been doing a lot of talking. Who has a question? How about a self-doubt that's been kind of tripping anybody up? Feeling stuck anywhere? Who's going to be brave?
I will.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda.
My goal is to speak Spanish. I get stuck because I think I need to be perfect. So my feeling is, I can do this. This will be great. I can talk to twice as many people, but I expect to be perfect. Like I speak at this level for English, so I should speak this level at Spanish. I can understand what people are saying because I can eavesdrop on all kinds of conversations at Walmart and grocery store, everywhere. But getting it from here, it kind of freezes because it's not perfect. And I really felt convicted with that one. It's like, ooh, I don't have to be, I can mangle it and people will still understand.
Well, and I was going to say, what's the worst that's going to happen if you say something wrong?
And people laugh at me all the time, which is just the bizarrest thing.
So your primal brain is like, oh, no, you've got to be perfect. You're going to get kicked out of your social network. You're going to be like, it's not going to be good for you, Linda. Really, what's the worst thing? If you talk to someone in Spanish and you say something incorrectly, they're going to correct you, like, and say like, do you mean blah, blah, blah? Well, oh, yes, that's what I mean. And then you go on. It's not. Yeah. Plus the other thing too, is you do not make forward progress unless you try. So just practicing your Spanish by yourself, you know, when you're getting ready in the morning is not going to move you as fast as if you were to actually have a conversation with someone who's fluent in Spanish. Right?
And I know a few people, I can just go out for lunch.
Totally. And they would love it. And I'm thinking like when we had exchange students when my kids were in high school, and I used to love talking with them because they would try so hard with their English and sometimes they didn't quite get it, but I just so appreciated their effort to try to get it, right? So I say like, you know, put those thoughts aside and be like, hey, today I'm challenging myself. I'm going to go out and I'm going to engage in a conversation with someone in Spanish. And that is going to skyrocket your ability really fast. Think about the whole immersion program in high schools.
Yeah. And on mission trips, my Spanish got a lot better because I was plunked in the middle of wherever, Panama or Dominican, and everyone was, and so I had to catch up. And then I come home and then I go,
yeah, but you will catch up again. You have that muscle memory. And April, thank you. Try and fail, but never fail to try. I love that. That's a great quote. Any other stuckiness anyone wants some coaching on today?
Well, part of the reason that I joined this, in particular, this webinar, is because I left a profession after 17 years and am now in a totally different profession. I was a high school English teacher and broadcast and speech for 17 years, and now I'm a communication specialist for a cancer hospital. So it's as wildly different as it can be. And so that self-doubt is like every day that I'm feeling that. And so it's, the imposter syndrome is hitting hard, and I definitely procrastinate on writing things because I'm just worried that they're going to think, oh my gosh, what does she know?
Right.
And all the medical words, my gosh, I find new ways to feel dumb every day. So it's definitely been a tough transition, but that self-doubt, all of these things you talked about were right on the mark.
Totally. And like what you have right now is a beginner's mindset.
Yeah.
Right? You've never been through this before. Because this is new to your brain and you have left your comfort zone, it is sending you a lot of discomfort, right? And it's trying to get you to stop. But the only way to get to the end is through it.
Yeah.
The only way to do it is through it, or whatever that saying is. And there will be a day very soon that you no longer feel like this.
Oh, I hope so.
Right? Think about like a toddler learning to walk. How many times they fall down and get back up, fall down and get back up, fall down and get back up. What happens if they were like fell down and they're like, that's it, I'm not getting up anymore. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an exaggerated example, but totally, yeah, you can do it for sure. Yeah,
it's starting to get to that point. I'm almost at the year mark, so I'm starting to hit that, but
yes.
It's definitely been a transition. So
yes. And I'm wondering too, without talking to you further, if the that I'm a beginner, I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing, if just repeating that to yourself is maybe not helping you.
Maybe.
Right. So maybe think about that.
Yeah.
Anyone else before we go? Thank you for asking, and thank you for sharing your story. All right, so I have an email that will be coming your way as soon as I get the video downloaded, and it will have the worksheet. And again, I ask you, please let me know what your biggest takeaway is from today, because I do use that when I'm planning future workshops. And next week, I'm going to be talking about taking your life off of autopilot, how to choose to live intentionally. And that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, because I think during COVID, we all got kind of brainwashed of just living on autopilot, and we are missing a lot of life. So that is what we're going to be talking about next week. Please bring a friend if you would like. You can forward the link to them, and we would love to grow our community. But on that note, thank you all for being here today. Thank you for spending lunch with me, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye, everybody.